You know, we've all heard stories of people who've experienced seemingly miraculous recoveries from illness, haven't we? But can the same thing happen for our world? According to pioneering biologist Dr. Bruce Lipton, it's not only possible, it's already occurring. In his latest work, Spontaneous Evolution, the world-renowned expert in the emerging science of epigenetics reveals how our changing understanding of biology will help us navigate this turbulent period in our planet's history and how each of us can participate in this global shift. Up next, our special guest, Dr. Bruce Lipton, on Coast to Coast AM. And welcome back to Coast, our regular guest, Dr. Bruce Lipton, joining us next hour. His co-author will join us, Steve Byerman. Bruce Lipton, of course, Ph.D., internationally recognized authority in bridging science and spirit, and a leading voice in biology. As cell biologist by training, he taught at the University of Wisconsin School of Medicine, later performed pioneering studies at Stanford University. Author of The Biology of Belief, he has been a guest speaker all over the country and the world. He's a keynote presenter for national and international conferences. Here's Bruce Lipton. Bruce, welcome back.
Thanks, George. This is just a great, exciting night for us because a special astrological significance for today, and it surprised me because it's a day where Saturn and Uranus are in opposition to each other. And the significance about that is where the existing structure, Saturn, is opposed by Uranus, which causes upheaval. And so we're beginning a period of upheaval right now. And while a lot of people are, of course, scared to death about what's going on, you can hear the joy in my heart and excitement because we're moving into something that's so fantastic in our evolution. And this is a transition. This is a birthing process. So my excitement.
Tell me about epigenetics. What is that?
Well, everybody has been taught the conventional understanding that DNA and genes control biology, and we talk about all our traits, and anytime anybody's looking for, well, what's the cause of something, we go to our genes, and that was based on an understanding called genetic control, which literally means control by genes. The new science, which has supplanted that, it's a much more big, encompassing science, is called epigenetic control. Epi means above, like when you say epidermis, that means the layer above the dermis, the skin. So epi is above, so when you say epigenetic control, what you're saying is control above the genes. And for the first time in our history of understanding, we are now recognizing that what we've been telling people for years and years and years, that genes control things, like genes turn on and genes turn off, is totally false. That's not how it works. And the new understanding really imparts an active participatory role of ourselves in the regulation of our own genes. So we're going from a period where we used to talk about, well, you're a victim of your heredity. You got cancer running your family, Alzheimer's, whatever, and you're a victim. And genes, you can't change them, and you didn't select them. And so basically you become a victim of your heredity. And then as soon as you know you're a victim, of course, then you need to go seek help to compensate for those bad genes. And that was the old belief system. And the new belief system says, Matt, the way we perceive the world we live in, how we respond to the environment, changes our genetic code on a daily basis, that we adjust our genes based on our perceptions. In fact, a mind-boggling number, every gene in your body can be modified to create 30,000 different variations.
30,000?
From each gene.
It's huge.
Yeah, in other words, genes are potentials like film, and our mind creates an image on that film. And that's as simple and as truthful as it really gets. It gets down to the fact that our perceptions and our beliefs and attitudes shape our genetics, and these change when we change the way we live from day to day. Just recently, Dean Ornish, famed for his cardiovascular stuff, did a study with prostate cancer people, and what he did is like he did with his other patients, no drugs. He just said, let's change lifestyle, eat better, handle stress better, meditate, things like that. And he followed them for a short period of time, and by changing lifestyle, they changed the activity of 500 genes.
That is amazing.
So the big thing is, here's a whole history of you're a victim, and it turns out it's like, oh my God, we were in control and we didn't know it. And because it's our perceptions that control it, it's as Henry Ford said, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you're right. And so basically it says we become masters when we understand this mechanism, because then we are free to change the way we respond to life. And when we change that, we change the genetic readout.
When you wrote The Biology of Belief and subsequently here Spontaneous Evolution with Steve Bayerman,
yes,
tell me of the significance of what happened to you or what you saw to begin to push you in that direction.
From the Biology of Belief
to where we are today. Yeah.
Well, it's so interesting because the biology of belief gets down to a very simple fact that talks about that our biology and our behavior is controlled by the way we perceive the world and how our conscious and our subconscious mind operate in that unfolding. But basically it says how your beliefs affect your local life. So it affects your relationships and affects how you do on the job. It affects your health. Okay, that's fine. What I started to realize at some point was, well, wait a minute. If enough people are sharing the same beliefs, then there's a coherence. And I realized, oh, my goodness, a cultural belief, when infused into a population where everybody is creating their own reality, but when you get a large number of people to share the same creation, then it manifests. And all of a sudden I said, oh, my God, we are creating the world, but we didn't realize we're involved with that. And this is part of quantum physics. This is part of the mechanics of quantum physics and the new epigenetics and all that. And it basically says we have been participating in it, but we haven't realized that we have been programmed. And we've been programmed with being disempowered. And for me, it's the most amazing thing, because when I started to realize, and I give lectures, and I talk to people, I say, look, here's a picture of a woman walking across 200 feet of coals and flames around her. and then here's a picture, a story of people, women picking up cars because a child is caught underneath it, and they're picking up 1,500 pounds or more.
Yeah.
And I talk about down south in the U.S., we have Baptist fundamentalists work themselves up into a religious ecstasy, and to testify that God protects them, they play with copperheads and rattlesnakes, poisonous vipers. They get bitten, nothing happens. But the ones I really want to emphasize were some of them drink strychnine in toxic doses as testament that God will protect them, and they drink this strychnine, and nothing happens to them. And all of a sudden you go, wait a minute.
That's a little too far for me.
Well, I'm not ready to do it myself.
No.
Boy, God bless them.
Yeah, I'm positive, and I believe in our ability to heal, but I'm not going to drink strychnine.
No, and it's, and so why is this exciting? Because when the belief question is out, or when a belief is so firm and positive, then we manifest things out of our beliefs. And we have to recognize that we have been cultivated with beliefs in our culture that shape our civilization. The beliefs that we buy give character to the civilization. So imagine this. I mean, we bought, and we'll talk about it later a bit more, but we bought a belief in Darwinian theory. And you say, so what does that mean to our culture? And it means, two things. One, it says, how did we get here? And according to theory, random mutations, genetic accidents. And so you say, well, then what's our purpose for being on the planet? And you say, well, there really isn't any purpose at all, because it was just an accident. That's the only reason we're here. And so you go, okay, we have no purpose in being here. And then you say, well, how do we do the best to live on the planet? And then you go to the other part of the theory that says that we're in an eternal struggle for survival with a competition for being the fittest. And all of a sudden you realize, my God, we're living in a belief that this is a dog-eat-dog world, and we all have to compete against each other to get our piece of life out of this. And this is our belief because this is what science said. And now
it's remarkable work. We're going to be back with you in just a moment. Dr. Bruce Lipton, our special guest tonight, author of the book Spontaneous Evolution that he co-wrote with Steve Bayerman. We'll be back with Dr. Bruce Lipton in a moment on Coast to Coast AM.